Hello, we are from Group 7. Before we start, we would like to thank you for the opportunity. Let me introduce our members. First, there's me, Silviana, and then Elizabeth Ambat, Stephanie Kovalit, Janet Toam, and Florent Ramadhani. And now we would like to present our materials on forensic linguistics. First, introduction. General knowledge. Linguistics is the scientific study of language. Applied linguistics is a branch of linguistics where the primary concern is the application of linguistic theories. Forensic linguistics is a scope of applied linguistics in the area of language, work, and law. So what is forensic linguistics? According to Cook in 2003, forensic linguistics is the deployment of linguistic evidence in criminal and other legal investigations. In general, forensic linguistics can be defined as a specialized field that involves the application of linguistic analysis, principles, and methodologies to legal and investigative contexts. Forensic linguists applies linguistic knowledge and techniques to the language implicated in legal cases or proceedings or private disputes between parties which may at a later stage result in legal action of some kind being taken. History of forensic linguistics. The term forensic linguistics is used for the first time by the linguistics professor Jan Svartvik in 1969 in his book The Evans Statement: A Case for Forensic Linguistics. This book is an analysis of statements by Timothy John Evans. It was in regard to reanalyzing the statements given to the police at Notting Hill Police Station, England in 1949 in the case of an alleged murder by Evans. Evans was suspected of murdering his wife and baby, and he was tried and hanged for the crime. Yet, when Svartvik studied the statements allegedly given by Evans, he found that there were different stylistic markers involved, and Evans did not actually give the statements to the police officers as had been stated at the trial. Sparked by this case, early forensic linguistics in the UK were focused on questioning the validity of police interrogation. And then in the 1980s, Australian linguists discussed the application of linguistics and sociolinguistics to legal issues. The 2000s saw a considerable shift in the field of forensic linguistics as it spread to many countries around the world. Today, not only does the field have professional associations, there is also a bunch of universities that focus on the program of forensic linguistics.
Second, content of the topic. Areas of forensic linguistics. The classification of areas in forensic linguistics evolves as the field develops. The areas of forensic linguistics are as follows. 1. Auditory phonetics. Auditory phonetics is the study of language sound based on what is heard and interpreted by the human listener. That is the aura perpetual characteristic of speech. 2. Acoustic phonetics. Acoustic phonetics is the study of the physical characteristic of speech sound as they leave their source, the speaker, move into the air and gradually dissipate. The acoustic analysis of speech sound requires laboratory observation with instruments and specialists, but readily available computer hardware and software. 3. Semantics, interpretation of expressed meaning. Semantics is the study of meaning as expressed by word, phrases, sentence, or text. 4. Discourse and pragmatics, interpretation of inferred meaning. Analysis of discourse is the study of units of language larger than the sentence, such as narrative and conversation. Analysis of speaker intended meaning and actual language use is the study of pragmatics. 5. Stylistics and questioned. Authorship. The focus of forensic stylistic is author identification of questioned writings. 6. Language of the law encompasses the use of language analysis technique to assist in a legal investigation and proceedings. 7. Language of the courtroom. Study of the courtroom language are analysis of the language of all the players, language of witnesses, language of lawyers, language of judge. 8. Interpretation and translation. Interpreting is a complex skill under any circumstance, but it is especially difficult in forensic context. Translating in the legal context requires much more than a literal, word-of-word mashup of two languages.
Olson suggests that forensic linguistics concern with investigative linguistics, that is to say that the aim is to provide the investigator with methods of text analysis on a text type basis rather than to provide the court with scientifically evaluate evidence. The text type will be discussed are as follows. Emergency call. In an emergency call, the recipient's or emergency operator's ability to extract primarily linguistic information in threatening situation and to come up with the required response in a timely manner is crucial to the successful completion of the call. Emphasis on intonation, voice pitch, and the extent to which there is cooperation between the caller and the recipients at any one time are also very important in analyzing an emergency call. Full cooperation includes frank and timely responses. Urgency plays a role in emergency call, so hesitation, sign of evasiveness, and incomplete or overly short answer indicate that the caller might be making a false or hoax call. A genuine call has distinctive, interlocking, and slight overlap of turns. The recipients trust the caller to provide accurate information, and the caller trusts the recipients to ask only pertinent questions. Ransom demands and other threats communication. Threats is a counterpart of a promise and is an important feature in a ransom demand. Ransom demands are also examined to identify between genuine and false threat. Suicide letters. Suicide notes generally have sentences alluding to the act of killing oneself, or the methods of suicide that was undertaken. The contents of a suicide note could be intended to make the addressee suffer or feel guilt. A suicide note is typically brief, concise, and highly proportional with a degree of evasiveness. Final death row statements, also just called final or last statements, are a relatively recent addition to text types in forensic linguistics. Death row statements either admit the crime, leaving the witness with an impression of honesty and forthrightness, or deny the crime, leaving the witness with an impression of innocence. They may also denounce witnesses as dishonest, critique law enforcement as corrupt in an attempt to portray innocent, or seek an element of revenge in their last moment. Death row statements are within the heavily institutionalized setting of death row prisons. The Forensic Linguistic Institute holds a corpus of these documents and is conducting research on them. Confession and denial by public figures. Why are these public denials and confession important linguistically? These are public figures responding to their accuser, sometimes in public and sometimes in private. In this text, diverse as they are, we have prominent people, some of whom are members of the establishment, facing and responding to the establishment.
Third, content with examples. Forensic linguistic analysis techniques. First, authorship attribution. Authorship attribution in forensic linguistics involves in analyzing written text to determine the likely author of a document, which can be crucial in legal investigation. Forensic linguistics can determine who wrote a particular document or message. Some examples of where this can be applied: threatening letters. If a threatening letter is sent to someone, forensic linguists can analyze the language, vocabulary, and writing style to identify potential suspects by comparing it to known samples of writing from individuals of interest. Plagiarism detection. In academic and professional settings, forensic linguistics can be used to detect plagiarism by comparing a suspect plagiarized text to the writing style of the alleged original author. Anonymous online posts. When trying to uncover the identity of an anonymous online user, linguists can examine their writing style, syntax, and choice of words across various posts and compare them to known writing samples of potential suspects. Authorship of legal document. In legal cases such as wills or contracts, linguistic analysis can help determine whether the document was forged or written by the purported author. This is especially relevant in cases of disputed wills. Side notes. When investigating the suicide case, analyzing the language and content of a suicide note can help confirm whether the note was genuinely written by deceased or possibly fabricated. Ransom notes. In kidnapping cases with ransom demands, linguistics can study ransom notes to identify language patterns that may lead to the identification of the perpetrator. 2. Voice identification. Forensic linguistics can analyze voice patterns to potentially identify the caller. Some examples of its application. The first one is speaker identification. Forensic linguists use voice analysis to determine if a suspect voice matches that of a recorded voice in a threatening phone call, ransom demand, or anonymous tip, helping establish the identity of the speaker. Speaker profiling. Linguists analyze the characteristics of a voice such as accent, dialect, speech patterns, and vocabulary to create a profile of the speaker, which can aid in narrowing down potential suspects. Threat assessment. In case involving threats or extortion, voice identification can help assess the level of danger by comparing the threatening voice to known samples, potentially identifying a pattern of behavior or a serial offender. Disputed confession. Voice analysis can be used to verify the authenticity of recorded confession, ensuring that they were not coerced or manipulated by comparing the voice in the confession to the suspect's known voice. The next is disguised voice, threatening calls, and harassment, and last, disputed alibis. If a suspect claims they were not at the crime scene, voice identification can help confirm or refute their alibi by analyzing voice recordings from the scene. The third, ransom notes analysis. Experts may examine ransom notes for linguistic clues to help law enforcement identify the author and gather information about the suspect. Some examples of where this can be applied: kidnapping cases, extortion investigation, threat assessment, court cases, fraud and blackmail, authorship attribution. For suicide note assessment, forensic linguistics can be used to evaluate the authenticity of suicide notes or letters left behind, helping to determine whether they were written by the deceased or someone else. Some examples of how this application is used: distinguishing genuine suicides from homicides, assessing mental state, identifying suicidal ideation, detecting coercion, evaluating authenticity, comparing multiple notes, providing context for investigation. 5. Plagiarism detection. Linguistic analysis can uncover similarities between texts and demonstrate the improper use of someone else's work. Some examples of where this can be applied: copyright infringement. fraud and forgery, academic misconduct, historical document analysis, plagiarism in legal documents. 6. Threat assessment. Analyzing threatening letters or email can assist law enforcement in assessing the level of danger posed by the sender, aiding in decision-making regarding protective measures. Some examples of where this can be applied: cyber threats, workplace threats, school threats, stalking cases, political threats, online threats, and
Forensic linguistics is a specialized field that combines the study of language with criminal investigation and legal proceedings. It involves the analysis of written and spoken language to provide insight into cases. Forensic linguistics analyze language to determine authorship, authenticity, and the context of documents or communication involved in criminal cases. The field faces challenges related to the subjective nature of language analysis, potential bias, and the ethical consideration. It often involves collaboration between linguists, legal experts, and law enforcement agencies to provide valuable insight in solving cases. In summary, forensic linguistics plays a crucial role in the criminal justice system by using linguistic analysis to aid in solving cases and providing linguistic expertise in legal matters. And now, the resources that we use is the first one, a book written by John Olson that is published in 2008 by Continuum International Publishing Group. The title of the book is Forensic Linguistics, second edition. And the second one is an article by Mirza Umiyati that is published in 2020 on the International Journal of Forensic Linguistics. The title of the article is a literature review of forensic linguistics. And last but not least, we found some of our material on the Wikipedia website with the title Forensic Linguistics. And that is all of our research on forensic linguistics. Thank you.